Hi guys, welcome to Mere Christianity for Teens. First, let's go through background knowledge. The author and I have been using these four terms interchangeably. And the four terms are the law of human nature, standard moral law, objective moral law, and the law of right and wrong. They are just different ways of describing the same thing. We now accept the existence of the law of human nature. We no longer question the existence of the law of human nature. The author pointed out two important points in chapter 1. First, there's this thing called the law of human nature, and second, we are aware of it but we break it. What C.S. Lewis is trying to say in chapter 3 is that because of these 2 points, it makes human unique compared to anything else in this universe. Why these 2 points make human unique is because while the universe only consists of facts, the humans consist of facts and something beyond. That's it. You don't agree with me? Well, let me explain. Let's talk about the universe. It is what it is. Everything in the universe is what it is. A tree is a tree, and there's no sense of saying it ought to have been otherwise. Some might say some trees are bad because it is not producing enough apples, or a tree is not growing in the right shape. But we are only saying the tree is not being the way we want it to be in order to bring us convenience. In reality, all the trees will act in a specific way in specific circumstances. So what we call a bad tree is following the law as much as a good tree. We call it a law, but it is not really a law in a strict sense. What we call laws are just facts. Facts are what something will always do. For example, a rock will fall when you drop them. The rock doesn't think about gravity, it just falls. But humans are not just facts because of the law of human nature. The law of human nature does not talk about what humans do like facts, but tells us what we ought to do and do not. Therefore, there is something beyond just facts. Humans have facts telling us how men do behave, and something else telling us how we ought to behave. There are those who reject this beyond and say the law of human nature is still part of this fact. They say how we ought to behave. It's like the tree explanation we just had. How we ought to behave is just like convenience. But bad behavior does not always equal to inconvenience. And good behavior does not always equal to inconvenience. For example, when someone purposely tries to trip you, but fails to do so, it didn't bring you any inconvenience, but you're mad at his bad behavior. On the other hand, when someone trips you by a mistake, even though it brought you inconvenience, you're not mad at him. And sometimes, bad behavior can bring you convenience. When you're in a war, a traitor from the opponent country can be very useful and convenient for you, but you will still consider him as a human vermin. Therefore, how we ought to behave does not equal to convenience. Some say how we ought to behave is just simply what pays me personally. But behavior such as not cheating in the business world or not cheating in the SAT does not pay me personally. Matter of fact, doing the opposite could bring me benefits. Therefore, how we ought to behave does not equal to what pays me personally. Some say how we ought to behave does not equal to what pays me personally immediately, but what pays for the society. But this is not a good argument because it will lead to a circular reasoning which will lead you to nowhere. Some ask, why should I care what's good for the society when it doesn't pay me personally? Then you will have to say, because you ought to be unselfish. But if the person asks, why ought I to be unselfish? Then you have to come back and say, because it is good for the society. Therefore, how we ought to behave does not equal to what is just good for the society. Therefore, the law of human nature makes humans more than just mere facts. It also has this beyond element that we cannot ignore. And that is something that makes human unique. That's it. See you guys on Sunday.